ChatGPT said, late at night, when most people were asleep, Michael Johnson was still working. A black maintenance technician in his mid-30s, Michael knew the Prism Tech building inside out. Every creaky pipe, every flickering light, every stubborn elevator cable. That night, he was finishing up his routine checks, worn uniform clinging to him, calloused hands stained with grease and years of hard work. Life had never handed him anything easy, no fancy degrees, just practical know-how learned the hard way, patching up machines in tough neighborhoods. And yet, despite everything, he carried himself with quiet dignity, even if the world often saw him as just another invisible laborer. Meanwhile, on the top floor, Victoria Hartman, the 38-year-old CEO of Prism Tech, was buried in reports. Sharp, cold, decisive, the kind of woman who made tough calls and commanded respect. Michael had seen her once or twice, felt the subtle, almost dismissive glances she and her world threw toward people like him. You know the type: degrees, suits, corner offices, looking down on hands that worked with grease and sweat. Then came the sound, a dull thud near the CEO's private elevator, followed by an eerie silence. An alarm flickered faintly before dying out completely. Inside that sealed metal box, Victoria was trapped. The elevator had stopped dead between floors, and darkness swallowed her whole. Victoria's heart pounded in that suffocating blackness. Memories of childhood fears flooding back. Claustrophobia had haunted her for years. She pressed the emergency button repeatedly, her breath hitching, panic setting in. She clawed at the smooth metal walls, screamed for help, but only silence answered. The small communication system went dead, cutting her off from the outside world. Alone, trapped, drowning in fear. Outside the elevator, Michael heard faint noises, the desperate cries of someone trapped, scared. Without hesitation, he knelt by the control panel, his fingers tracing wires he'd studied for years. He called out through the crack in the door, "Miss Hartman, I'm here. I'm going to get you out." There was a flicker of doubt in her voice when she heard his name. A maintenance guy? For a moment, pride clashed with desperation. How could someone like him help her? But fear drowned all doubts. Victoria kept fumbling with buttons, pulling levers, unknowingly worsening the faulty electrical system. Michael urged her to stop, but panic makes people deaf to reason. Then, with steady hands despite burning pain when he accidentally touched a live wire, Michael worked tirelessly, reconnecting circuits, bypassing broken links, relying on nothing but experience and sheer will. Sweat dripped down his brow, muscles aching, but he refused to quit. Finally, with a loud clang, the elevator door creaked open, and light flooded in. Victoria stumbled out, pale and shaken, her legs barely holding her. Michael's face was grimy and sweaty, one hand seared from the electric shock he'd taken. She looked at that burnt hand, realization dawning. This was no careless technician, but a man who risked everything to save her. In that moment, all her prejudices evaporated, her cold distance replaced by something like gratitude, maybe even shame. Here stood a man she had barely noticed before, someone from a world she thought so far from hers, who had just saved her life without hesitation. "Thank you," she whispered, voice trembling. "I'm sorry for doubting you." Michael simply nodded, a faint smile breaking through exhaustion. "No one gets left behind," he said softly, but Michael's day wasn't over. He had a second job waiting, a night shift at a local diner where every penny counted for his 6-year-old daughter, Emma. She had a mobility impairment, and every surgery, every therapy, was a battle he fought silently. His boss, a gruff man with a scowl that could curdle milk, barely tolerated Michael's late arrival, grumbling about lost time and slow work. Yet Michael pushed through the pain, scrubbing dishes with his burnt hand, driven by love and a fierce determination to provide. That night, in the quiet of his small apartment, Michael finally let himself breathe. The soft, steady breathing of Emma in the next room was his anchor. He stroked her hair gently, thinking about the future he wanted for her, a future where no one judged her or him by their limitations or color, but by their heart and grit. Back at Prism Tech, life seemed to carry on as usual for Michael. He arrived early, left late, fixing every little glitch with patience and precision. But whispers followed him, rumors that he'd sabotaged the elevator to show off, that he was reckless and unqualified. At a tense department meeting, Richard Collins, the finance head with a sharp tongue and sharper prejudice, hinted darkly at Michael's supposed incompetence, his eyes laced with disdain for someone he deemed beneath him. Victoria, who had once been distant, suddenly stood up. Her gaze cut through the room like a blade, silencing Richard and the murmurs. "I have personally reviewed the incident," she declared, "and Mr. Michael Johnson did not sabotage anything. He saved my life. Any rumors to the contrary will not be tolerated here." The room fell silent. Even Richard's face paled, and he slunk down, defeated. Later, Victoria invited Michael to her office, offering him a promotion to assistant head of building services, an acknowledgement of his skill and dedication. Michael, wary of traps and politics, accepted cautiously. But Victoria was sincere, breaking down her own prejudices through understanding and respect. She even visited Michael's humble home, met Emma, and saw the real reason behind his tireless work. Inspired, she launched diversity and inclusion programs, setting up educational funds that helped Emma access cutting-edge therapies and technology. The company culture began shifting slowly, but surely, away from judgment to genuine respect. Yet, the road wasn't easy. Michael's new role demanded more time, more meetings, more travel. He missed dinners and bedtime stories. Some nights he came home to find Emma asleep, the quiet sadness of absence pressing on his heart. But he bore it, knowing it was the price for a better future. Then, just before Prism Tech's biggest product launch, a revolutionary software for people with disabilities, the building's central air system failed. Heat and humidity threatened to ruin sensitive equipment. The same Richard Collins seized the moment to attack Michael again, demanding his firing and expensive outside help. But Michael stayed calm. He studied blueprints, logs, and systems tirelessly, working through the night fueled by coffee and determination. His practical knowledge uncovered a stuck pressure valve overlooked by others, fixing the problem before disaster struck. Victoria stood by him, silencing critics and praising his genius publicly. Richard, humiliated, apologized and transferred away, while Michael rose as a respected leader, a symbol that talent and perseverance trump prejudice. His journey inspired many, and Emma thrived with newfound opportunities, learning, creating, and dreaming beyond limits. At a company picnic, Michael watched Emma play, her step steadier, her smile brighter. Victoria stood nearby, sharing a warm smile. Two worlds had collided, once divided by invisible walls, but now connected by respect, empathy, and hope. As the afternoon sun filtered through the trees, Michael knew this was just the beginning, a testament to kindness breaking barriers, courage transforming lives, and the promise of a better tomorrow. So, what do you think? Is justice truly served when we challenge our biases and recognize real worth? Share your thoughts, and let's keep the conversation going about fairness, courage, and the power of humanity. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell for more stories that touch the heart and change the mind.